everybody's ready, let's get started. My name is Alicia Haynes, and this is
Michelle Guy.
and we will be your MCs for this evening. Welcome to our 4th annual Quad Cities Black Authors Forum, sponsored by the Quad Cities Black Authors Collective. This is a partial representation of the Black authors in the Quad Cities. We have been here since 2022. Yeah, 2022. And it has just evolved into such a glorious event. Several of the authors that you see sitting at the table right now were sitting where you were seated, and they said, next year I will be at the table, and that next year they were, and that next year they were, and I believe we have some new authors on the forum today. So this has been a very expansive event. Our goals for the Authors Forum include continuing to build on the Polyrhythms Bill Bell Jazz Heritage Festival's mission to provide cultural and learning activities that enhance the quality of life for our community. I believe that has happened each and every year at the forum and beyond. To provide authors a platform to sell their books, share their process and passion, and to inspire future authors. I'm sure several people at the table can tell you they were inspired by this forum. That's why they're at the table today. And we're also promoting community and family literacy. Again, the forum began as the brainchild of Ms. Shelley Moore Guy, and you might notice she is absent from the table. She is a published author and does everything in the community. If you don't know who she is, where have you been? But she had to go home and is unable to participate in this part of the forum, but she's being represented by her family. Speaking of her family, this is her daughter, Lachelle.
So one of the goals of the Black Authors Forum is to inspire new authors. And so at this time, we'd like for those who are new authors who were not here last year to stand, and we would like to acknowledge you and give you a hand if you were not here last year. And so with that,
So we've had the same format for the past several years, and we're just going to stick with that format. We will have 1 to 2 questions that we have for the authors, and then we will open up the questions for the audience. If there's time, we will give the authors a chance to ask questions to each other. That often goes well. And if you are shy and don't feel like asking a question this evening, or we don't get a chance to get to it, there is a box in the back. It's black and white at the table, and you can leave a question there. If you think of something, just jot it down, throw it in the box, and we will answer it on social media or just have a conversation in the future with those questions. So yes, so I said that. So without further ado.
So we're going to start with introductions. So each author will have 2 minutes to give their name, relationship to the Quad Cities, genre of book that you have written, read a passage from one of your books, and or why you chose to write the book, and who inspired you to write and publish your book. So what we're going to do is we're going to have one of our volunteers at our volunteer table. Yes, one of you. We want you to choose a number from the basket, and that's how we're going to choose which table is going to go first. So as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we're going to choose a number, and then based off of that number, we would like for you to
table at the round table. People at the round table. Either table.
choose a table. Choose a table and have a volunteer pick out the number.
Table
Number 1.
Okay.
Over there. Number 1. Okay. So again, your name, relationship to the Quad Cities, genre, you can read a passage of one of your books, why you wrote the book, who inspired you to write and publish your book.
Okay, now Michelle, she's supposed to be our timekeeper. Let me know when you Where do you start? She looked at me like, oh yeah, I forgot. I got to see the time. You got me? Okay. Anyway, good evening, everyone. My name is Sister Diana Anita Allen, and I go by Anita because I'm in the middle part of my life, so I'm going by Anita. And my relationship to the Quad Cities, I moved here about 27 years ago with my husband Wayne, and we were working here, and I worked in the school district on this side of the river and the other side of the river. And I'm retired now for 7 years. And the genre of my book is poetry and self-development, because I'm going to read a little bit of my introduction and you'll see what my book is about. During my decluttering phase in the pandemic, I found some of my poetry that I had written years ago and thought, this could be the start of something, perhaps a book. Through writing, I found my love of poetry again. This brings us to this book, poetry inspired by different time periods in my life. You will notice that the bylines are not the same throughout the book, each indicating a specific period in my life. Okay, please enjoy my poems, My Lifeline, and thank you, husband. Let's hear from my husband. Please enjoy my poems, My Lifeline, and add a few of your own. My heart beats on the pages that follow. So the format is 4 different areas in the book, and then after you read that particular area, I give you 2 questions for you to start reading. So when you're finished with the book, you will not only have my lifelines, but you'll have your own. Thank you.
Do you want me to sing? My sister's Lydia, so let me. Hi everyone, my name is Lydia Mr. Harris. I wrote this book called Zara and Her Crown. It is a children's book. My relationship to the Quad Cities, well, I moved here for love. My husband is from the Quad Cities, he's from Rock Island, and so we met through church and ended up moving here, and now we're married with a 1-year-old, about to be 2. And I also work in public health. I work at the Scott County Health Department. The reason why I wrote this book was, well, I wanted to always write a children's book since I was in college, but this book is just about a young girl who is discovering how to love her hair, and she finds that her friends are encouraging her to love herself for who she is. And so it's a compilation of my story and then the stories of other brown girls who've experienced bullying in school and all of that. And so I also have I have a young daughter, so she's been my inspiration for why I do a lot of things. When I also worked in the Davenport schools, I started a group called the Queens Initiative for young girls of color, and so we talked about hair a lot, and so that kind of also fueled my fire to write this book. So yeah.
So I am Grace, I'm CC Madison, and my old principal's telling me to put the mic up to my mouth. Okay, I am CC Madison, and I am from the Quad Cities. I am heavy into the community here, and I am actually here on behalf of the author of this book, who I share a child with. My children and him have written 3 different children's books that I publish myself. I also do some publishing for some local authors in the Quad Cities. So this book, Zinga, is our initiative on bully prevention. And so it is one of our efforts to control bully prevention in the school systems. So our book is about a young lady who is being bullied at school. We talk about her and her bully going into 2 places and coming out of their 2 places as friends. In this book, we have discussion questions where parents and guardians and caregivers can have open conversations with children who are reading the book about being bullied. So because I am not the author of the book, I am just going to say his why on why he chose to write a book in regards to bully prevention. So what inspired Kernice Overton, who is the author of this book, to write. Zinga was inspired by personal experiences of his children. So his children have a story where they spoke to him about being bullied that allowed him to use his imagination to communicate with his children and to advocate for bully prevention on their behalf. He felt inspired to find a way to not only communicate with them about bullying, but also to advocate for bullying all across schools, systems, and children. So he has dedicated this beautiful book to the children who are his and other children who are being bullied in the world. So
Are we gonna eat? We can either choose from the basket, or we can just pass the mic down, however.
She said the best.
Let's go ahead and choose the basket. We're gonna choose from the basket. Ms. Early.
Table 2?
You know what? No, so I am keeping time, so for the most part, we have been doing a great job, in sticking to 2 minutes. So, kind of look at me here and there, I may have to give you a 1 or 2. Or, hi.
Hello, my name is Ethelene Boyd, and I came to the Quad City. I had gone to school in Nebraska, and I was going back home to Chicago, to the west side where I grew up at. And I stopped with my husband, and he was interviewed for a teaching position. And we were just, we just stopped and said we wanted to be interviewed, and they interviewed us, and they put us up overnight. And we've been here ever since. The name of my book is Love is on the Move. And I wrote this book because I had, I'm a missionary. I've been to Africa maybe 15 different times, and we build schools. I teach the teachers. Went last month, in fact. And so I had come back a year ago from Africa and wasn't feeling well. My daughter said, Mom, what's wrong? I said, I don't know, sweetheart. It's just, she asked a question, I didn't have the right answer. She came and got me and took me down to Dallas, Texas, so that she could observe me. Well, this book is the end result of my time in Dallas, Texas, with my daughter and my family, looking after my health. Oh, and by the way, what it was, the, malaria medicine had an effect on me. So the doctor took me off of it and I was fine. Thank you. Okay, my glasses.
We're gonna give you 1 more minute.
Oh. Okay. On February 18th, oh.
Thanks, Craig.
Okay, thank you so much, sweetheart. On February 1968, my husband, Ronnie Hackett, and I were startled out of our sleep by the sound of a train wreck. We had the oven on and open to help heat the frigid house located near a farming community in Crete, Nebraska. We noticed that the gas burning on the oven looked as if it were turning blue. We were freshmen at Doane College. Our daughter, who was 4 years old at the time, slept in a room adjacent. The sound of the train derailing caused my husband to quickly grab our daughter and shout out orders for me to follow him outside of the house before it exploded. Dangerous anhydrous ammonia gas was on board that train. It had permeated the air because of the spill. We had no idea we should turn the gas oven off, stay inside the house, and put our towels under the door.
Thank you. we like to think we have a lot of time, and we want to continue to hear your story, hear why you wrote the book and so forth and so on, but we are going to have time afterwards to hear a little bit more about each piece. So, next.
Hello, I am Creelo, C-R-E-L-O-T, and I'm from the Quad Cities. I claim the whole Quad Cities because I've lived all over the Quad Cities. In terms of my book, the book can give you a story of understanding, riches, and manifestation. This started as a class project that evolved into something way bigger than just a classroom online. And it is a inspirational type of motivation fiction, as well as an adventure of a young man who isn't happy with his current circumstances in life. So he goes out into the world to find riches, but on this quest, he finds way more valuable lessons that develop his mental, his spirit, and his physical. Right now, it's currently circulating around the Rock Island Milam School District. I've sold a lot of copies from all over the country, and I'm extremely blessed to be able to share hope. That's what it is.
Hello. I know I sound like my father. I'm A.C. Earl II, and I grew up here in Moline, went to Moline High School, and went off to the University of Iowa. And I started writing after my pro career, just because I had so much knowledge and understanding and passing it off to different athletes and coaches and parents. And when I first started going back to get my first master's degree, I started writing more, and I had a mentor, one of my instructors got me into writing, and I just write on a variety of topics, mostly to parents and family members on navigating things in sports. And so, like how to create a college athlete, things you can do, things about high school sports, things about training modules, diets, things of that nature, weightlifting. I often find, since I started coaching, that a lot of parents are doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. And I've even made some mistakes as well with my children, coaching and things of that nature. So that's probably my biggest genre. And then just being inspired of being, I think this is my third year or 4 of being in the author, program and coming here. I branched out to do tons of other books that don't have anything to do with sports. And so the children's books is probably my next thing, and I have 2 of those probably coming out in the fall.
Bonjour, moi c'est Victoria Trainer. Même la Quad Cities là, même démarré l'année et puis j'ai écrit livre ça parce que c'était petit point pour apprendre créole. Hi, my name is Victoria Trainer. I moved to the Quad Cities when I married my husband, who is a Rock Island native, and I wrote my book, Chabjou, which is a children's book that is bilingual in Haitian Creole, which is what I was speaking before, and in English, because I wanted to encourage my son to speak Creole. The story is in the perspective of my dog, and it's my dog and my son going through just every day, which is what Chabjou means. If you speak French, it sounds very similar. It's a broken down French. And yeah, it's just a fun adventure story. And yeah, merci pour attendre.
experiences and adventures and challenges. They've all been blessed and they've all been wonderful. And I wrote about as many of them as I could in this book, which makes the book a little long because I've lived so long. This is a prayer book, and I say that because every word is true, every word is kind, every word gives credit to other people who did more for me than I did for them, though I tried to keep balance. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the book, and that'll give you an idea of what it's about. Now, even though I've said it's a prayer book, and I know many of you are very devout Christians or other faith, this is a real book about real people that real things happen to. So there's a lot of cussing, and there's some sex, and there's some other things that if you can't tolerate that, this is a real book. You might have noticed if you saw my sign that I dropped out of high school for a year and a half when I was in the doo-wop group. And we didn't do so good at doo-wopping, but we did pretty good at wine drinking. So that story's in the book. Bessie's prayer. Dearest Lord Jesus, in your infinite wisdom, help me find a proper husband, home, and as many children as you can spare. I will devote my life teaching them to love God and family first above all things, to show kindness and be excellent in all endeavors, and help others before helping themselves. These things I ask in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Your loving daughter, Bessie Bell Mayfield, Chicago, Illinois, January 1937. Bessie read this letter to Jesus out loud in the privacy of her bedroom, down on her knees in prayer for 5 days running. On the 5th day, she was reunited at a bus stop with her sweet high school boyfriend, Herman Broad. They married within 2 weeks and had 5 children over 10 years, evenly spaced the Catholic way. Walter was their second child and oldest son. In accordance with Bessie's promise to Jesus about how she would raise her children, she planned Walter's life all the way through college to be an opera singer, and that failing, to be a school teacher. Worthwhile endeavors in the eyes of Jesus Christ. But Walter was determined from the age of 7 to walk his own road. He was curious, adventurous, fearless, and hard for Bessie to control. But Bessie was a mama grizzly bear, ready for the challenge of keeping Walter on her intended path. This memoir is the story of Bessie and her struggles with her son Walter, who retired at the age of 80 as the Chief Judge of the 14th Judicial Circuit in Western Illinois. This is Bessie's prayer.
And just as a reminder, every once in a while, can you guys look up at me while you're reading? Okay, continue.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Walcott, and can you hear me well? All right, great. Thank you. So what brought me to Illinois was that I am serving currently in Rock Island Arsenal. And while I was in Germany, God put this book called Between Two Worlds. And the reason why the name is because we're living in a true world, even though it's physical. There's a spiritual world, which is the most danger, and some people don't even know you're living in the spiritual world. Regardless of how you feel, you're in it. So this book actually gives you some tools how to find the spiritual world, how to overcome the struggles daily. Sometimes as humans, we're going through so many things. So this was inspired by God while I was in Germany, and I began to write about the book, but I did not know that I was literally as you look at the book and you start reading the book, I live in between two cities, which is Iowa and Illinois. So the uniquely is that God brought me here. When I was in Germany, I didn't want to come here. I said, Lord, what is Rock Island? You know, I never heard about it. So I'm talking to my sergeant major. He said, well, you're going to like it. So I continue, and then when you go to retention or you go to reenlistment, it says, you're going to Rock Island. I was like, wait a minute, where is Rock Island? I was assigned as an IG, Inspector General. As Inspector General, my assignment is a whole different department. I was assigned again to Rock Island. I said, Lord, I'll be obedient. You're sending me to Rock Island. Nothing to do more. But I thank God because the book is really strong in the spiritual word that you need to fight against depressions and some things like that, right? That we face daily. God has given the tools for us to overcome, fight anything that you go through. You can overcome in the name of Jesus. Thank you so much.
Go down the list. Can you hear me? I'm just going to go down real quick. I am Althea Stevenson. I know most of you know me because I was raised and I grew up in Rock Island. My last name is Gray, actually. And I was married to Daryl Bester at one point. But now I'm married to Jesse Stevenson. The relationship I have, like I said, I grew up in the Quad City, so everybody pretty much knows who I am. The title of my book is From Joy to Mourning. This book covers all emotions that I was feeling on my journey. Also, why did I write the book? I'm a voice for other mothers. And I'm just going to quickly read a passage in this book to share a little bit about the book. And this part is a dedication for my oldest son. His name is Darwin Gray. For every tear that's fallen from the eyes of those who lost a loved one due to gun violence. This book is dedicated to you for every ounce of unspoken pain endured in the twilight, for every second, minute, and hour of the day you felt trapped inside the palms of grief. Know that we see ourselves in you, that we align ourselves to fight with you and for you, that we pray for you and ask that you pray justice is served for the life of DeMar Bester. Keep God first. Keep loved ones close. Live every day like it's your first and last. DeMar continues to be a lighthouse shimmering bright as we journey forward. Your watermark of love can be seen on your daughter's faces and felt through stories speaking to your selfless generosity. You are forever loved. We will fulfill the promise we made to you. We love you. Amen. And that dedication was written by my oldest son. I am on a journey, and I am speaking out for other mothers who have lost a child due to gun violence. And this is what this book is all about. People tend to ask, you know what I'm saying, what happened to that family, or why did they speak out? Well, I am that voice for other families. So that is why I'm here. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, early evening, everyone. I am Tramika Woods, and I know, are we supposed to sit? Well, I'm gonna sit because everybody else is sitting. Okay, so I am Tramika Woods. I was born and raised in Davenport, Iowa. I have lived here my whole life, besides from 2007 through 2011 when I was away in Ames, Iowa, for college at Iowa State University. Go Cyclones! I heard somebody say Hawkeyes, but it's a Cyclone Nation. So my book is an autobiography titled Lost in the Woods. So the question was, what inspired us? Life is what inspired me to write my book. I started my book 2 or 3 years before I had my daughter, who is now 5. So also my book is coming up on its 3-year published anniversary next month. And so in 2021, life events took place that made it a good time for me to finish the book and publish. So I felt that it was necessary for my story to be heard from me, and not only just the media, so like the news, social, Facebook, all the media besides myself. So I thought it was a good time for me to share my story from my perspective. So on that note, life has continued to life, but along the same lines as God continuing to God. So there will be a sequel. The timing just hasn't yet presented itself, because like I said, I published this book based off of a significant life event that was like, okay, it's time. So a sequel is in the motion, but it just isn't time yet. But in the meantime, me and my daughter have also finished a project, which is with the publisher. We're figuring out, you know, the illustrator and all of that, but me and her have finished a project. So by next year, I'll be an author of 2 books, and one of them will be narrated by my daughter, JoJo. So, yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and read the dedication for Lost in the Woods. So it took a lot to write this autobiography. In fact, there were a lot of breaks taken because it was too hard to get through it. Look at God. To those who poured and deposited, you are appreciated. To those who turned their backs and withdrew, you are appreciated too. To those who have been hurt by the process and aftermath of what happened, accept the apologies and count it as a learning process. Hopefully everyone grows to understand that you have 2 choices in life. You can choose to be a lost cause and blame others for the struggles you face, or you become found and find yourself ultimately becoming the best version of you. There will be a point in time when you will understand the importance of God's grace and mercy. Whoever may be reading this, please know that you are loved. When life is hard and you are lost in the woods, I encourage you to find times to worship, forgive, grow, serve, and love. You got this. Signed, Shanika Woods.
All right, I'm gonna go back to standing for those in the back. Good evening, everyone. I got 2 minutes. Good evening, everyone. All right, my name is Rashida Jameson. I am a certified financial educator, and then I am also, of course, a mom, a wife, and an entrepreneur. And what connects me to the Quad Cities? My relationship. I came here in 4th grade, and this has been home. And I say Quad Cities because I've lived all over the Quad Cities, but something has always brought me back to resonate me with Rock Island, and then this has been my home here for the last 25 years. So with that being said, my book is Unleashing Your Wealth, Escaping the Limitations of a Poverty Mindset. It's an empowerment for financial growth. One of the things that I learned on doing financial education over the years, whether it be youth, whether it be adults, whether it be elders, is it's not a conversation that's normally had at the table. It's not something that we talk about where we talk about credit, where we talk about how to create wealth, how to set up a trust, how to make sure that we have trust fund babies, how to make sure that when we're no longer here, like our families are cared for. And the more I was having that conversation is the more that I realized that there was a lot more people than I thought was just my family that didn't know. So I decided to write a book about it. And it's very basic on giving you, and I want to say basic because I make sure that I put it in a way that's easy to understand. I tell my own story, but then I also guide you on steps on this is what you need to be doing to set that legacy. My thing is creating something for my own children, and I want other people to be able to create that for theirs as well. Because we're not all going to be here, but at least we can leave something behind for them. All right,
Good evening. My name is Reverend Samuel W. Hale Jr. I am a former pastor with 60+ years of ministerial and pastoral experience. I've served in this pastoral and ministerial assignments Talladega, Alabama, Chicago, Decatur, East Moline, Springfield, Illinois, Davenport, Iowa, at Progressive Baptist Church, Louisville, Kentucky, Nashville, Tennessee, and Washington, D.C. Many of my pastoral encounters involve family members, including my own, who are trying to address the many and varying experiences and issues dealing with the death of a loved one. Anybody here who's lost a loved one? Remember some of what you've had to go through, one way or the other? Well, I've witnessed a lot of situations and occasions where in funerals which contributed to some needless occasions of confusion, frustration, and even anger. Anybody ever got mad at your family members? I guarantee you, funerals are one of those situations where anger will come out. So this book, entitled When Your Loved One Dies, a funeral preparation guide for family members. See, it helps to address and hopefully prevent many of those situations that cause so many problems. Let me share with you a tidbit of a frequent funeral scenario. Family repast has ended. Everybody at the funeral has gone home from the church. The kids in the family room, Latanya, Latoya, Letitia, Ray Ray, and Lil Man have retired to the living room. And now some more sobering moments come and dialogue begins. Latoya, did Mama have some old insurance policies? Do you know where they are? No, but we probably need to look at in her dresser drawer, top one, over there. What y'all gonna do with all that stuff in Mama's china cabinet? I thought you said you wanted Letitia to have that. I don't want that old stuff. Look, man, where are those other keys to Mama's car? How do we get access to the money in Mama's bank accounts? Who's gonna pay off Mama's outstanding bills? These are just some of the other questions and concerns that have to be addressed and resolved, should have been addressed and resolved, if Mama had clarified with them before her death. And these same questions and concerns should be addressed and clarified by each of us whose brothers and sisters are here for their family reunion, for the funeral. Take care of that before you die. Amen. This book has some questions, insights.
About 30 more seconds.
What cautions, instructions, and biblical references for dealing with this emotional moment. It can be purchased through Westbow Press for $11.95. I do have a few books available on sale for $10 today. That's it. When your loved one dies,
I'm going to have to follow a pastor. My name is Dr. Carl Randolph Jr. I'm the President and Chief Consultant of My Wingman LLC, a business leadership and management consulting company where we help leaders design legacies that last. How did I come to the Quad Cities? I was in the Army. I was voluntold. They said I was going to Rock Island. I said, Rock Island? Where's that at? So I did it. Part of my business is writing, editing, publishing, and promoting books for other people, but also for myself. First one, Can God Trust You with Trouble? It's not a book about religion. It's actually a book about faith. Inspired, Not Retired, Leadership Lessons from Father to Son was the relationship, mentorship between my father and I that I used to lead my 32-year Army career. I ask a lot of questions, but I don't give any answers. Hence, the Inspired, Not Retired workbook, a guide to developing your own leadership lessons. And then The Iraqi News, from Saddam Hussein to weapons of mass destruction to Al Qaeda in Iraq. Book one is about Into the Storm. It's written from the standpoint of anyone should be able to pick up the book and understand it, and it's all the things you never hear about in the news. So, how did I start writing? I tell people it was a dare. It probably wasn't. It was just a question, but I took it as a dare. Pastor Moore asked me, hey, can you write a book? Do you know how to write a book? And I said, sure. I'm a third-year doctoral student. I can do anything. You just have to start off with a great title. He said, Can God Trust You with Trouble? And it was like, what? Can God Trust You with Trouble? There were three of us in the room. We were like, why would God have to trust me with trouble? And so, wrote this book. It was a earth-shattering moment, again, to hear his story. I would say this was probably the worst 11 months of Pastor Moore's life. I would tell you more, but then you wouldn't buy the book. Thank you.
I'm so loud you can probably hear me louder anyway. I am a substitute at Washington Junior High School, and the kids said I yell at them. And I said, no, I just talk loud. They said, yeah, because you ghetto. And I said, call them what you want. But anyway, I started writing when I was, let me go back. I grew up here in Rock Island, Illinois, and my family was one of the families that came here during a migration from the South and the end of the Industrial Revolution. And I think I was 8 and it was 1959. I went all through school here and eventually graduated from Augustana College and became a family therapist and social worker. I started writing this is actually a book of poems, but it also is about my family and about Rock Island. And one of the poems I'm going to read you is a short poem about Hickman Center. How many of you remember Hickman Center? Well, I want you to remember. My books are mostly about history and family and poetry. Most of my poems are about the Quad Cities or Homer, Louisiana, where I came from. And I'm going to read you a short poem. Wait, let me say one thing. I'm also working on these church books which I've been working on for years. Every time I come here, I'm supposed to finish them the next day. And that's been 3 years. So I have 10 of the proof books here with me today if you want to look at them. The churches in the area is called We've Come This Far by Faith. It is important to me, and it should be important for me, for all African Americans, that we make sure that our history is told. The way I can tell that history is through the books that I'm writing. That I actually write the history. The church has sent me the information of their history about, 20 years ago. And I decided I would go and find information about those churches in newspapers.com. So I found all these articles, and I just want to share the dates of some of these articles at these churches. Third Baptist, I found an article from 1880. Bethel, I found an article from 1866. Tabernacle, I found an article from 1906. And Second Baptist, I found an article, which is right over here, from 1873. And to me, our history is very important for us to say. So that's what I'm doing. But also, when I think about growing up in Rock Island, there's a history here that's important too. And one of those histories, one of those articles, like the poems I wrote years ago, is about, I started writing when I was 8. Let me say that. It's Hickman's. If y'all remember Hickman's, does anybody remember Franklin Junior High School? It's now open park. You won't remember it unless we write about it, huh?
About 30 seconds.
Yeah. But anyway, I didn't know I had talked that long. I think you let up.
30 seconds.
Anyway, I'll just read my little poem about Hickman, and I'm gonna do that because his granddaughter's here. And I found out she was his granddaughter. He dared to care about the West End young. He provided activities for youth away from home, a place for them to belong. He built Hickman Center long ago for youth who had no place to go. He built a kitchen and a huge dance floor. Youth came from the surrounding towns to dance and socialize to the Motown sound.
Two words.
Two words. Reverend Grimes has a grandfather that went to Bethel AME Church, and they were honoring him, and I found this article about him honoring him, and I think it was 1964. But anyway, he related a story about his father, which would have been Reverend Grimes' great-great-grandfather, who marched with the Union soldiers from Alabama or somewhere to Davenport, Iowa. That's how they got in Davenport. And that some captain taught him how to read and write.
Good afternoon. My name is Curtis Lewis. I am author of Fear Saved My Life, 10 Ways to Make Your Dream Bigger Than Your Distractions. Basically, this book is a self-development book. It takes you on a journey through, I do a lot of storytelling. And one of the changes in my life was probably when my grandfather stepped in and became that father figure. Even though he was always that father figure for a lot of us growing up, but he took me in to learn a lot of his principles when it came to prayer and meditation. And I got in a fight due to fear. And that fight was just the start of my journey. And I share that within the book, how don't let nothing stop you. If you got a dream, go after it. And one thing that my grandfather would say is, you are great. And I encourage students, through plays, also write plays and go into the schools and we share those stories to remind students that you got greatness within you. So fear is just the start of, have the fear, whatever that you're dealing with, and go after it. So that's it.
Greetings all, my name is D'Angelo Williams. I'm in the Army. I've been in the Army for 18 years. Woo. So I got a couple more years after 20. I still remember the day when I walked across stage to get in the Army when I graduated from high school and went on my way. But I'm married with 3 kids. I have 3 boys, so you can imagine how it is in the household. What brought me to Rock Island, the Quad Cities, was the job. I was supposed to go to, I was working to go to Hawaii, but I ended up coming here, which is I'm actually, ecstatic I did come here because my career has been about, really pushing it, doing a lot, doing all kind of crazy stuff going on all across the world. This was actually a location where I could really sit down and focus on my family and focus on myself. So this is the location to do that. I wrote a romantic suspense, which is called Wednesday. And for those, y'all don't know me, but for those who do know me, when I said I was writing a romantic suspense, they laughed because I'm pretty gung-ho and, I do a lot of Army stuff. So when I said I was writing a romantic suspense, they kind of laughed. But here I am. Wednesday is based out of Colorado Springs, which was my first duty station. And if you have not had an opportunity to go there, I highly implore that you do. It's a beautiful place, and I wanted to capture that in the book. But just like all beautiful locations, there's a lot of dirt and grime that goes on in dark places. So, for the reason of time, to be brief, brief, I just read the back of the book instead of reading an excerpt from the book. So August Bowman has recently moved to the beautiful city of Colorado Springs with an open heart, hoping to find what she's always been missing, love and loyalty. She meets a charming man, James, who asks her on a date to the city's winter gala. Quickly she learns James is not as charming as before, and soon finds herself very intrigued by another man, Cat, who happens to be James' coworker. And you know, you can kind of guess from there how crazy it is. But just real fast, I've always wanted to write. I've been doing that since I was, really young. I just never completed a book until now. And one of the big reasons I wanted to write was because books transcend time. You can pick up a book from Langston Hughes and you can still read it and get the feeling and the impact that he wrote when he first wrote it. And I wanted to have, hopefully one day, one of my books is actually being read in school and people can see what I was writing about and kind of talk about me. So that's what I want to do. Thank you.
So we're going to go back over to table one. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Bettina McWilliams. I am not an author yet. I'm inspired tonight to make it happen. I was going to say it. I'm representing Lillian Foran. She's the youngest author here at the bottom right-hand picture of your program. And she has written a book called A Different Set of Eyes. She is 13 years old, and we're very proud of her. She has siblings who have autism, and her brother Joe is featured in this book. It's not yet published. We're working on the study guide. Ms. Allen, I need you to wrap things up to submit it for consideration by an amazing person in the room, but we won't call her name unless they want me to. Okay. So Lillian has been on this planet 13 years, Quad City native, born in Davenport, Iowa, and she wanted to be like Miss Shelley tonight and not feel well. So I told her I'd do my best to represent her, so thank you for allowing us to do that. This is a children's book. You could call it realistic fiction because some of the events are exactly how they happened and some of the events have been calmed down. And it's amazing that this young lady had the insight to say, I want to tell my brother's story. And his name is Joe, so she said his name has to be on the book as well. And it was illustrated by her aunt. So look for it soon. Let's encourage our young people to let them know their dreams can come true. Thank you.
And so real quick, since my mom is not here, I can't do her justice, but I'm just trying to step in as much as I possibly can. She has written a total of 3 books. She actually self-published a book of poetry in the 90s. And then during COVID, or shortly after, she started writing a children's book called How Little Billy Learned to Play. She partnered with Marcel Pass, who was the illustrator of the book, and it's loosely based off of Bill Bell, who grew up in East Moline. I'm just going to read you just a little bit of the introduction. How Little Billy Learned to Play was written as a tribute to musician Bill Bell. Bill grew up in the Watertown neighborhood of East Moline and became known as a jazz professor while building a prolific performing and teaching resume. He retired from Alameda State University in California after 35 years of teaching music and was a composer who toured nationally and internationally. Playing with many noted and famous musicians, he also mentored and influenced countless young musicians throughout his life. So again, this was her actually first children's book. She just recently completed her second children's book called The Family Tree. And her illustrator was Gwen Ballard, and this is about our family. I'm just going to read you some of the author's notes. Our great-great-grandparents, Charlie and Eliza Wilson, and their family settled in Rock Island, Illinois in 1866. Following the end of the Civil War, they moved to the town of Port Byron, Illinois in 1876. In 1914, a man named John Hallberg interviewed Charlie. The result of that interview is a description of my ancestors' lives during slavery and how they gained their freedom. This is the basis of my book, The Family Tree. Writing this story and bringing my ancestors' experiences to life has been a source of joy and inspiration. After sharing this story with my family, the children seemed so interested and excited that I decided that other children may be interested and would benefit from learning about local and national history. Our story reflects the stories of many African-American families in the United States, and it's my hope that the labor of love will provide the readers of this book a sense of history, as well as a source of personal inspiration, encouragement, and pride. So this was written by my mom. And I believe, is it Little Billy that's in schools in Rock Island?
I think it's Family Tree.
The Family Tree?
Yeah.
Yes, thanks to, yes. So, again, she's not here, she's sick today, but I just wanted to make sure I did represent her the best way I could.
The illustrator is here.
Yes, Marshall. Yes, Marshall? For Gwen. Oh, for the Family Tree, yes. And Marshall, he did the Little Billy. Yes. So, thank you.
Thank you for sticking with us during the introductions. It's very important to kind of give that highlight to our authors. These are authors that don't often get the light shine on them, and that is the point of this forum in the first place. So the most important part is complete. You have met some of the authors. Just recognize that there are many more in the community. Some of them have sat at this table, and I believe some of them are potentially probably in this room, sitting at the table out here, and all of you. So we do have a few questions. Given the time crunch, we're not going to ask that everyone answer the question. So if you would like to raise your hand and kind of let me know if you would like to answer this question so we can kind of get through some. Again, if you have questions that aren't answered or you're curious about something, please leave it in the box and I'll make sure it gets to the authors and we will get that information out so that you can get your questions answered. The first question we have tonight is, how do you cultivate the practice of writing? What's your process? Anybody want to take this one? Yes, please use the mic. Yeah.
Is it on? Okay. I'm currently finishing up my second one, and the second one was a lot more challenging than the first one. And I changed it 4 times. But the idea was getting myself in a place of peace, and it's not always just in quiet. Sometimes it doesn't come in quiet. So it's come with working out. I'll be playing music, or I'll just be thinking about an idea that came to me. I'll go out and do something different that it'll be a different experience. And each time that has inspired me to put me back on, I gotta write about this. I have a phone full of notes because I stop, I take time, and I put it in my notes so I can remember to always come back to it so I can share my story properly. So it's usually in those times of doing something that brings me peace.
So I would just say, based off of myself and books that I'm working on, and a lot of the publishers that come to me, the authors that come to me to help publish their books, I always inspire them, just like many of the authors on this panel and their stories. Their books are about things that inspire them, something that connects them, whether it be spiritual, faith, whether it be about your child, whether it be about your journey for coming from Germany over to the States, or your walk in life and fear, saving your life, different things of that nature. You spoke about your children. Our children's books are about our children who were bullied and things that we see in the world that's happening. Those are the most inspirational stories. And so when you tap into that creative space, and that is your safe space, or you have a story that needs to be told that is a dark story, or coming from a place like this author over there spoke about, and you want to find a way to get those words out, or fighting depression, or fighting just anything in life, you can escape. And I always tell authors, not only myself as being an author as well, but other authors that come to me for help, figure out what story you want to tell, and tell that story and escape in that book that you're writing.
Even though my first book was what I mentioned tonight, Love is on the Move, every week for the last 15 years, I would go to Walgreens or a store and develop the pictures that I took. I would take pictures daily. I guest teach for 17 years, and every day I'd be in a different class, and I would take pictures, and I put those pictures into a book. Years ago, 1 week it was High Praises to God by Ethel Boyd. My house caught on fire. And so this picture just showed one of the firefighters being my former student. And like I said, Walgreens closed where I would do it at, but any of the drugstores or any of the stores would allow you to come in. Would allow you to come in and develop your pictures and into a book. Like I said, I have about 40 or 50 because I read it every week. Thank you.
And the next question we have is something that is true to my heart because many people know that I have a book or two that has been written and sitting there and has not. I have done anything with it. It's there. The stories are just there. So what has been your greatest challenge in getting published and actually going through and following through and taking that book, like I have, from your computer or the cloud to being a physical copy of a book?
So I'm an indie publisher, being an independent publisher. Yeah, I told Pastor Moore I knew how to write a book. It sounded good brief way. The writing part was relatively easy. I parsed out the editing because I never edit my own work. Because you know what you're thinking, but it doesn't necessarily translate. You leave out words, you leave things out. But then comes the publishing. I had to learn a process of publishing. It's very difficult. It can be very time consuming. And I had one client, as I was helping her publish her book, she said, you know what, you're worth every penny. Because there's no way in the world I would want to do what I'm paying you to do. And so it was just that part of it. So if your books are sitting on the shelf, you don't have to do the work. Find somebody who knows the process and let them endure the pain and go on from there.
I have your number.
I would say to the question, is your book is in your computer or whatever, like, you know, you have the notes and then you still, you know, put the notes together to make it published, right? I would say it's not, I'm not saying it's your case, but one of the biggest thing for us is procrastination. And we think we have time. Tomorrow, I do it tomorrow, I do it tomorrow, I do it tomorrow, I find somebody, I do it tomorrow, and then just years comes, and then it's still the computer. So the only thing I can tell you is look to inspiration, right? The book is not just for you. It's for your children. So it's your legacy. So you leave tomorrow, God forbid, not allowed to. Your children can go back and say, my mother, that's my sister, you know, wrote that book. So think about it. Inspire your own self. Get the motivation to get it out of that, whatever it is, in the notepad, whatever you have it, and say, before I leave this earth, I gotta leave something to these great people here, right? That's all I have to say.
To those who have written children's books or books that have illustrations, how did you find your illustrator? There's not necessarily a database around. I know a lot of people have been looking for illustrators, so what was your process there?
I found my illustrator through the Black Authors Forum. In 2022, it was my first one attended, and there was a young woman who published her children's book, and I got together with her illustrator, Yvonne Charles. She's around the Chicagoland area, and I was able to work with her and do Zooms, and the pictures are based off of my son and my dogs. so I sent her different angles of my children. I also have a 5-month-old as well, but so maybe book 2 will be featured. So yeah, and we just went through the process and tried to capture what Haiti looked like and regular town USA for the parts that are in the U.S. because first the story starts in the U.S. and then they go to Haiti. But I wanted it to be for any reader, whether you're in a city or you're in the suburbs, you can resonate with what you're seeing and the adventures that they're going on. So yeah, I was able to be flexible with them and talk to them and get my vision out there, as well as be patient because I had the story all put together, but then I had to wait on the actual art to happen. So yeah, that was my experience.
So for my book, I was very particular. I had my color schemes down. I had inspirations of what each character, like what I wanted each character to look like. Some of my favorite illustrators are Ebony Glenn and Vashti Harrison, so I really like their work and I wanted my book to kind of be similar to that. And so when it was time looking for an illustrator and doing my research, meaning going on TikTok, a lot of people said to check out Fiverr or Upwork, and so I went that way. I did find one illustrator. She low-key scammed me, but and so I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. She didn't follow any of the things that I wanted, and so I lost out on $200. But I went back to TikTok and I started looking at some illustrators who have been putting their work out, and I went to some of the Facebook groups for illustrators and authors of children's books. And so I found this one girl who is really popular on TikTok. She has a huge following on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. I reached out and she has illustrated, she just illustrated and wrote her second book, and she's illustrated other books. And so I reached out and was like, hey, can you illustrate my book? So we emailed back and forth, had a contract and everything. She sent me out some rough sketches, and they were amazing. And so I just moved forward with that. And then she did just all the artwork and did everything that I wanted to. She was just like very encouraging. She knew how to communicate and all that. Her name is BB Park, and she's out in Florida, but she does a lot of great artwork. So it took some time, but I would say for anybody, if they want to do a children's book, social media is your friend. And so definitely look out on TikTok, Instagram, because a lot of people are posting their work on there. And there is some amazing people, so yeah.
For Lillian's book, her aunt actually did it, so another granddaughter did the artwork, and it is beautiful. I would say look in your local schools, not just students, but teachers, community members. We have amazing artists right here in this room. And earlier I kind of talked over Mr. Collins. He was responsible, wave your hand, for getting Shelley's first book into the Rock Island Line of schools and throughout schools in Davenport and Moline. So I just wanted to add that piece. But they are right in your neighborhood, right in your schools. Give a high school student an opportunity. Elementary students, they are talented. So use the talent right here in the Quad Cities, if you can. No fault against me because that doesn't look good. I just want to add that.
I know we're on time. I just wanted to say really quickly, because everyone has like some really good ideas for children's book. I just think it's very important when you're having an illustrate a children's book, that your images connect with the story. So while we all speak a lot about how to find an illustrator, and they're all great ways, I just want to remind everyone, when working on a children's book, you have to capture the children's attention, and you want them to be able to connect with that story. And most children who are reading children's
like to open up, if there's someone in the audience that has questions, I'd like to give that opportunity if there's someone out here. Little mama? Do you have a question? She said no. She said no, she's not surprised.
Hey guys, well, I'm gonna be over there next year, I'll say that right now. But, I guess my question would be for my daughter, you know, she's not here, she's gonna be over there next year.
A little bit more, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I sing and rap around here, but that's not, my daughter's gonna be an art daughter. She's gonna be over there next year. She's already wrote 3 books. So my main thing is how do you keep the children inspired? She has autism too, so it's really good to help her. She should have been here too, but she's writing right now. So she works. So how to keep them inspired? How to keep the children inspired?
It starts with praise at an early age. If you're an educator, if you're an aunt, if you're an uncle, you know how you heard those things. What are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. You'll never be an author. Let them know you have the potential. You can be. It doesn't matter your ability, your disability, your challenges, your celebrations. This is an even playing field. You can come from anywhere, any social background, any demographic, and tell your story and connect. We already connected right here. And I want to say kudos to Michelle and her team, because how many of us have said, because we see you, we want to be you. And that's what we want to inspire our children to do.
All right, I noticed you mentioned that there were some illustrators in the room. Can we have the illustrators stand up right now who are in the room? Illustrators, please stand and remain standing. Illustrators. Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to take some liberties since I'm sitting over here. If we can have people in the audience, if you are a writer, please stand. If you are a writer. In the audience, those in the audience, please stand. Hands up and who are standing. Hopefully we'll see you guys up here next year. You might already be published, but if you're not published, hopefully we'll see them next year up here as well. So I'm turning back over to you.
So I want to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors who made this event possible. So Rock Island Township, Quad City Arts through the Arts Dollars Regranting Program, supported by the Illinois Arts Council State Agency, the Hubble Waterman Foundation, Isabel Bloom Art Education Endowment, MediaCom, Vision Arts Photography Media Center, Davis Entertainment Network, available at davisentertainmentnetwork.net, Friends of Greg Johnson, Bowman Accounting, DJ Mason Mill, Eastside Sounds, and KELA 80.5 FM. With that, we are going to take a break. Off the stand here, or?
Yeah, I think one of the things we wanted to give the audience, we would like you to come up and visit with some of the authors and purchase some of their books or see where you can get them online. And then tomorrow, we do have the book fair, and this evening, we have C.J. Parker and his crew will be here beginning at 8 o'clock. So this is a part of the Bill Bell Jazz Festival. So the festival, we kick it off with the reception, and then the author forum, and then after the author forum, we have music tonight, and all day tomorrow from 12 to 9, and then Sunday, our first event. First time we're having Gospel Sunday. That'll be from 3 to 7. And I know this one young man has his hand up, so I'm going to let you.
I just have a question.
Yep.
Question for the authors, particularly my wife. Now that you've all been published, how has it changed your life? And does it change anything that you expected, or was there an unexpected change?
Anybody can answer, but I just teasing my wife.
So for me, it's actually made me hungry. Like now that I've written one book and I've actually had, the physical manifestation of it, and I can look at it every single day, and my son can actually say, hey Dad, that's you, and you wrote the book. I want to do more, and I want to continue to do more while I have, a breath in this earth. To leave, like I said, leave something behind, leave something for my children, or for my other friends, and for other individuals who may be a little more disenfranchised than me. They can actually do it and say, hey, we saw you do it, so we can do it too. So
when I finished my 50-year career in the courtroom as a lawyer and judge, I was out of gas and I was 80 years old. But my mother lives in my head. And the rule is that you do something worthwhile, you stay busy doing something worthwhile, so long as God gives you breath. Well, at 80 years old, this is what I did. And I have so much respect for everybody sitting at this table and the writers back there, because I didn't know what it took to write a book. What it took for me was 3 years, probably 8 hours a day, stripping away everything else in my life. This is what went on for 3 years. That's what it takes to write a book. Now, we're all writing a book every minute. Every minute of our lives, we're writing a book. But it takes a long time to get it on paper and to think it through and then organize it. So, it's changed my life in the sense that I've become much more reflective, much more prayerful, much more grateful, much more patient, much more kind. And it's a wonderful experience. And so I'm tempted about this one, but I have to say it. From my understanding, hundreds of people every week start writing books. Very few of them ever finish. The very fact that we have written a book is a testament to our strength, determination, courage. We've done something that very few people have done. And I'm proud of that. And I can say for myself that with all of the experiences I was blessed in my life to have, this was the most difficult thing that I ever did. And it's the most satisfying. And if anybody's out there thinking, well, is it worth it? It's worth it.
I would say being a member of this organization is so satisfying and gratifying. And it's taught me to expand my writing, and I encourage everybody to come because enjoy and be up here next year. And we've heard somebody say about the Motown, I'm a Motown baby. I know some of you guys are real Motown fans. But if you look at how Motown made it, they were all together, touring all the time on the Chitlin circuit, and they all made each other better, right? And somebody in this room is going to sell 1 million copies, right? And I hear it every time I come every year, and I want to be around that person, and I want to be with them when they sell 1 million, and that's why I'm always working, because maybe we're all going to do it together, right? So just,
So I just wanted to add to that. So for me, and the reason why how I felt after I published, I had this imposter syndrome very bad. So I felt like I had to be perfect. And I spent a majority of my life living like that. I'm 36, and I say I spent over half of it just feeling as if I had to be somebody that I wasn't, fulfilling somebody else's image of who I should be. So publishing my autobiography, I have the relief of not having to do that. Anything you need to know about Tramika is right here. And I don't have to have fear about the fact I'm moving in a way that, you know, looks as if I have it all together, or people think I'm perfect and I got all this going, and actually we all fall short somewhere. So for me, it's relieved the pressure of having to appear that I got it all together, because I don't, and it's in here, and I feel good about it. So yeah, we're good.
God has a book inside of each of us. I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to advise you. I just lived the life and went along with what he put in into me building. So let God use you. Step out and do it.
I actually like what you said, Ms. Moy, which is really good. I'm on a journey from God, so it definitely inspired me to speak out for other mothers. You know, and secondly, I was not a writer, but I wanted to share my story, and I wanted to share their story as well with the impact that it had. So, and I'm on my second book. Like I said, I'm not a writer, but it's about experience. You know what I mean? It's about experiencing things in your home. It's about life experience. Like you said, life is life. And we need to tell our story. We need to share with other people who don't share those stories. So, that's why.
And whether you realize it or not, you are a writer.
Thank you to everyone who came out tonight. Again, we do have about 10 minutes or so for you to mixing in with the authors. I would like to remind you that books can also be purchased tomorrow at the Bill Bell Jazz and Heritage Festival Vendor Book Fair at the MLK Park from 12 to 6. That is tomorrow, so come out, listen to some jazz, get some books, eat some food. I hear that Nicole's food truck is going to be out there. I have a special affinity to that, so yeah, come out and just enjoy the authors. Actually, you know, you met some great people tonight. They have amazing books. I try to read through them each and every one through the year, so definitely check them out. And yeah, mix and mingle. You got a few minutes. Thank you for coming out tonight.
If you could tell them